Hey there, Bookkeeping Side Hustle Community. It's Kate. Welcome to the first in a series that we're going to do with the founder of Financial Sense, a good friend of mine. I've met him for about a year now. Shahram is going to teach us. I'm going to have him introduce himself in a little bit. But this is the first of 6 that we're planning to do over the course of the year. So get excited. But today is about how we scale our firm with optimized checklists, which is really good for me because I am terrible at checklists, and so I'm excited about this content. I need help with this, and so if you need help with it, if you're like me and kind of a mess, he'll help you. And then even if you're pretty good at this, he can hopefully be able to help those advanced checklist and process people too. So glad to have you here today, and please toss questions in the chat because I will be asking them for you on your behalf, and we'll get all of our questions answered as long as people are asking them. And now I'm going to have Shahram introduce himself, and we'll dive in.
Hey everyone, Shahram here, founder of Sense. I'm really excited to talk about this topic today because I think it's an important topic. It's a topic or really something firms need to really do a good job of implementing if they really want to continue to grow and scale their practice. And it's a necessity. So really excited to cover this. Does it make sense to just jump on in?
Yeah, I think so. Let's we can share your screen. We'll just get to the good stuff. People, we're all busy, right? We don't have time for too much pleasantries. I'm really excited as you're bringing up this list. I'll say just kind of how I'm thinking about this, Shahram, is because I was really liking this topic, and it's been in my mind for the last few days, and I'm like, why am I so bad at the process and the checklist stuff? And it hit me that I have never had a job that's like a process job. Um, I was a backpacking guide for a while, and then after business school I always had like kind of heady jobs. Like I was reading like oil and gas contracts, and there was really
Yeah.
kind of no process for that. I wasn't ever in like a churning out material, like kind of the same thing each month. Everything I did was like a one-time thing. And so I'm like, that's kind of where I'm coming from about why not any checklist I've tried to create is definitely not optimized, and I just kind of get frustrated. I don't know how to go back and use them, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I don't know if that resonates with anyone else who is listening, but and then I know there's a lot of bookkeepers who are really good at checklists, like it's natural for them, and so make sure to help them too, but help the pitiful people like me.
It's funny you say that because it seems like something that should be so easy and simple to create, just a simple checklist, but it can be very hard for a lot of people, and if you're not used to it. And and we're gonna actually talk about that a little bit of like what are some of the challenges, why can something like this be a little challenging, and how to overcome those challenges. So I think you're really gonna like some of the content we covered today in this brief webinar.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. But before I do, I'll talk a little bit more about myself. So, as I mentioned, founder of Financial Sense, and what we do is we really help accounting firms grow, scale their practice, and collaborate with their team, and really just at the end of the day, get more work done. We released it about 2 years ago. It's when we started. But before we started building or really writing a single line of code, we spent about a year interviewing accounting firms. We wanted to really understand what were the biggest struggles they faced in their firm. And one of the biggest problems they had was workflow, managing that work, getting that visibility, collaborating with their staff, getting the work done and hitting their deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
And we use those insights to build Financial Sense. And because of that, we've had a lot of success recently in the market. We're one of the fastest growing workflow practice management tools for accounting firms and their teams. And we already serve well over 2,000 accountants.
Congrats.
Um, yeah, it's been fun. It's been exciting, but it really comes down to just we're trying to do the best we can at solving that critical problem of workflow for bookkeeping and accounting firms.
Okay.
So what are you guys going to walk away with today? So when we create webinars, what we try to do is create something very actionable. We don't like to just talk high level. We actually want to give you guys some frameworks and some stuff to walk away with that you're going to be able to implement in your firm. So this is going to be a real actionable workshop. And we're going to talk and we're going to share some of these frameworks that you can then use to easily implement these things in your firm.
That's awesome. I'll jump in that he gave us 3 downloadable worksheets. So for any of you who can't stay to the end, I want to mention it now to check the
Yeah.
description because there's a checklist worksheet, an optimized example, and a workflow starter pack that are available to our community for free. So grab those links if you're not able to. If you have to come back and finish the second half of this later, but talk about actionable. I mean, he's given us some good stuff. So, all right, back to you.
Yeah, definitely. Be sure to download those. Those are going to help you actually implement some of these things, but also give you good examples or even a foundation to get started with that workflow starter pack. So, what are we going to cover today? First, we're really going to talk about the benefits of checklists, right? Why you want to implement them in your firm. Then we'll talk about a quick framework for creating those simple checklists, and then how you can quickly optimize those checklists. And then lastly, talk about some of the systems you may need to manage and scale those checklists. So
Awesome.
let's jump into the benefits. So there's a lot of benefits to creating checklists in your firm, but in my opinion, these are the 4 top benefits. So the first one, when you create checklists, it allows you to effectively delegate work. At some point, right, every bookkeeping firm owner, if they want to continue to grow their practice, they're going to have to make that transition from being a bookkeeper to a firm owner, right? When you start out, you can do all the work yourself. But as you continue to grow and your client base grows, if you want to continue that path, you have to eventually delegate that work to someone because you only have so many hours in the day, right? And if you don't end up doing that, your firm's growth is going to be limited by how much work you can really take on. We're only human. Um, so,
You'll
but it,
probably
it can
start
be,
serving the clients that like you. You'll start serving your
yeah,
good clients poorly, and then they'll
yeah.
tick them off.
Exactly. And that's the thing, right? But it's so hard for people sometimes to delegate because one, trusting them to do the work correctly, letting go
Yeah.
of that control. It's very difficult for a lot of people. I have trouble with that myself. But checklists really help you overcome that because by creating a checklist, you're giving a step-by-step guide for your team to follow so they can effectively get the work done without you being involved in the process and still ensure the work is getting done right. Um, and that kind of tags into our next point. It ensures consistent client deliverables. A big challenge a lot of bookkeeping firms have as they grow, as they expand their team and they start delegating that work, is maintaining that work quality. When you do it all yourself, right? It's your firm and you know the clients personally. You take your time to make sure the work's done correctly every single month or every single week.
Hmm.
Well, when you delegate that work, sometimes, those people are less experienced. They're prone to making mistakes. And that causes your work quality to sometimes suffer as you grow your business. But that's a big problem. And because the biggest growth driver for accounting firms is referrals and retaining your clients. If you don't maintain that work quality and keep that firm standard, you can lose clients, or even if you keep them, you may not impress them enough to encourage them to refer you to other people that they know in the space. So if you can maintain the consistent deliverables, the work quality, that's going to help you grow faster through referrals and retention. And checklists help you do that again because you hire someone completely new with very little experience, they will have a step-by-step guide to follow on how to complete the work as if you were doing it yourself. So it really helps you ensure that consistency as you continue to scale.
Yep. I was thinking as you're stay consistent and you have a checklist so each month maybe gets easier because you're not reinventing the wheel. You either
Yeah,
can get another client or you upsell to that existing client. So referrals are great to grow by, but selling to your existing clients are another really great way to increase revenue too without having to go fiddle with more people.
exactly. Definitely. Um, so this last point, I think this is a big one. A lot of firm owners we work with, or have in the beginning, they work 80 to 100 hours a week sometimes. And it's because their business can't run without them. They're in some ways a slave to their business, and they're having to do all the work. But if you can effectively delegate that work, right, to people without involving you in the process, and still ensure that it meets your firm's standards in terms of quality every single month, that essentially pulls you out of the process.
Yep.
That gives you freedom to focus on your business instead of in your business. So you can think strategically on how to continue to grow your practice, or give you that freedom to take a vacation when you need it and work a reasonable amount of hours every single week, because you can't work 80 to 100 hours every single week. It's not sustainable. You will burn out. So really, uh, creating these checklists will give you that foundation to pull yourself out of the business, focus on how to grow it, and really just work a reasonable amount of time, which is really essential. And all three things of these together, right? Being able to delegate that work without involving you in the process, ensure those consistent deliverables and meeting your firm standards, while still being able to save time, buy back your time to focus on your business and work a reasonable amount, is the recipe to really scale your firm. That gives you that foundation to really scale, double, triple, quadruple your firm without experiencing a lot of those growing pains or obstacles along the way.
Right. Right. Awesome.
So I just really want to talk about what is a workflow checklist. This is probably pretty simple. I mean, most of you know what it is, but it's really just a step-by-step process that defines how to complete a or checklist that defines how to complete a process at your firm. So creating checklists for all your processes, internal or external, right? Monthly bookkeeping, tax returns, payrolls, your client onboarding process, your staff onboarding process, all these processes to create a step-by-step guide for. It's going to look something like this. This is a simple checklist, right? This is just the steps that go involved in completing our process. For us, this is monthly bookkeeping, requesting the information, receiving it, prepping the AP and AR, and all the steps involved in our process. Just a step-by-step guide. So how do you create this,
So,
right?
sorry, you said that was a simple checklist, but when I think about like prep AP, if you're trying to pass that off to someone else, like is there a sub checklist within prep AP?
Yeah. So I will get into that, because one thing I want to talk about is like the challenges people have even getting to this point, right?
Yeah.
So even though this seems simple, a lot of firms struggle to even create something like this for all their processes. And even though it's simple, this still provides a lot of value to your team because it keeps everyone on the same process. It keeps everything consistent. People aren't creating their own processes of doing things internally that may cause problems. So we always recommend like to keep it simple at first.
Okay.
First, go and create a simple checklist for every single process in your firm, and then you go and optimize it. Because what we see happen is a lot of, and we'll talk through that. We'll show you, we'll talk through that piece a little bit in the second half of this. But what we see is a lot of people never make it to this point because they try to do it all at once, right?
Okay.
They try to think of every step, include all the information. So it takes them a week just to create one detailed process for one detailed checklist for a process. But a lot of firm owners, they don't have time to do that. So what they end up doing is they kick it down the road. They say, I'll do it next week. I'll do it next month. I'll do it next year. And then it never happens. So we tell people to keep it simple, create a simple checklist for all their processes, lay that foundation and use that momentum to then go back and optimize it when you have time. So at least you have something to go ahead and start streamlining your processes and realize some of that value. Um, so how do we do this, right? We tell people what you should do when you start creating your checklist by keeping it simple is give yourself 5 minutes, set a
Oh,
timer, and brain dump everything you can think of that goes into the process from a high level onto a spreadsheet or a piece of paper. So just the goal is not to overthink it. Don't even think about like the order of it. Don't worry too much about missing steps. Don't worry even about your spelling at first. Just the goal is to brain dump it onto a piece of paper in 5 minutes, then go back, rearrange everything. Maybe if you miss a step, add it in. And that way you can create a simple checklist like this in 5 minutes. And if you can do that in 5 minutes, you can create a checklist for all your processes in under an hour. So that's the first step, right? And to hit that home, like I probably won't do the walkthrough, but what we say is like again, time yourself, give yourself 5 minutes, just put everything down onto a piece of paper, rearrange it after the fact. But that will allow you to create the checklist, lay that foundation, have something that your team can actually start using and go by to help you get that work done.
Okay, time out. Because I would have thought that you would have said, do the work and write while you're doing, like have like the piece of paper next to you and try to do a client's books and write down everything you do or something like that. So not that's not how to do it. That's not 5 minutes.
You could do that way, right?
Uh-huh.
That is a good way to do it, but that might cause you to overthink it a lot. And then it's gonna end
Okay.
up being a really long list. So we like to distill it down and keep it simple at first. And we'll talk about like what to do while you do the work to help optimize it a little bit, but we like to keep it simple at first because
Okay.
this will help them realize that value of like, wow, these checklists, even something as simple as this can help your firm so much. And then that will give them the momentum and the desire to kind of take it to the next level instead of trying to do it all at once. And then you just, it causes you to kind of procrastinate and kick the can down the road.
I would love for people to chime in on the chat. What do y'all think about the 5 minute timer brain dump versus has anyone tried to do like what I would have I think the time every time I've tried to create a checklist, it's like I've waited to work and then I've tried to document my steps while I've worked. So what if Shahram, you keep going, but people in
Yeah.
the chat, let's see what y'all have to say.
So now let's talk about the next step, right? You have that foundation. You've created this simple checklist for your firm. What we say now is to optimize your checklist for scale. So what does that mean, right? So that simple checklist, it's great. It gives you like a high level process your team can follow. But that's not something like you were talking about earlier, Kate, where you can give it to someone and they know how to do the prep AP or the review AR exactly. They're still going to have to ask you questions, right? They're still going to not know exactly how to complete the process. Optimizing your checklist. So this next step is going to allow you to really give a checklist to someone that has little to no experience in the space that you've just hired, and they'll be able to do the work without asking you a single question or needing your help. Essentially helping you buy back your time and scale
Yeah.
your processes. So how do you do this, right? So the first thing we recommend to do is create a walkthrough video for each and every step. So like every single one of these steps, you want to create a quick walkthrough video of how you do the work. And we believe this is the better way to do it. The old way we see a lot of firms, and some firms still do, is create these SOP documents. It's probably a 15, 20, 30-page Word document with where they wrote out every single step. They pasted in screenshots, formatting. It can take a long time to create something like this. And again, a lot of firms never make it to this point because you guys are busy. You don't have time to add something like this to your plate. So you end up saying, I'll do it next week, next month, next year. And typically it never happens. So instead of doing this, create a video because it doesn't take any extra time. So you know how you talked about documenting your processes while
Yeah.
you work? This is where that comes in our opinion. So record yourself as you're doing the work, right? And the thing about video, it's more detailed. Like a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth a million, right? Because your team members will see every single little thing you do, what buttons you click, what information you're looking at. And also, we recommend narrating it. Like as you do it, like narrate it a little bit. Talk about what you're doing, what you're looking at, how you're analyzing it. So your team has all the context in this video that they can watch, easily digest. So, but the key thing is not only is it more detailed, again, it doesn't cost you any extra time. Creating an SOP document could take weeks.
Yeah.
Creating a video, you just record yourself as you're doing the work. So you get this detailed process your team can now follow without having to really sacrifice any of your time in your day.
Yep.
Um,
I'm a
Now, a
big
lot of
believer
people,
in making videos. That part I'm comfortable with.
yeah, and a lot of people aren't, right? So what we tell people too is you don't like in this example, like this person's showing their face, you don't have to show your face. This isn't something you're going to broadcast to the world. You can easily, it's something for your team. So just record your screen if you're not comfortable with that part. And don't worry too much about perfecting it, right? It's not something that you're going to use to market or broadcast to the world. So if you make a mistake, just correct yourself in the video and continue on. Don't try to make the perfect video. As long as you get all your points across, you make up your mistakes, it'll be fine. And also, don't try to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of processes that a lot of firms do that are very common. You can probably find some of these videos on YouTube of how to do certain things in QuickBooks or other processes. So you
Yeah.
honestly might not even have to make a video. You can borrow someone else's on YouTube. Um,
I'll
so
let me.
this is
I'll chime in here with the Loom app. I have gotten pretty good at like editing while I'm recording because you can hit that pause button, y'all. So if you find yourself getting flustered because you're trying to document it and you're not, the video medium is difficult. You'll get better at using that pause button to then get to the next, like, okay, and now I've opened up HubDoc, or now instead of
yeah,
showing stuff that you don't want to show. And I also think a way to graduate to putting your face on there, um, because I think it will help, is I think everyone should have, as a part of their onboarding process, is how to invite an accountant user. And I think we can all make our 20-second video of how to invite an accountant user, and that's a great like first step that you'll use all the time with prospects, right? Like some people they'll never even be your client, but they'll have watched that video, and it's a good first short one that all of us need to have. So that's just another recommendation for and that video could be in your
yeah.
your onboarding process checklist.
So I love Loom. Loom, I highly recommend it. So if you guys aren't using anything right now to record videos, Loom is so easy to use. You could download it and figure out how to use it in just a few minutes. It's
Yep.
super simple and it's free. So it doesn't cost you any extra money and it's easy to share. They can edit. You can edit your videos. You can pause it, like you said. It has just so many good capabilities and it's free. So highly recommend that if you're not using something. So what's the next step, right? You have your high level checklist that you created, the simple checklist, right? You now have created your walkthrough videos for each step and put it in the steps throughout the process. The next thing you need to do is to add additional information needed to complete the step. So what we talked about, right? Your team now knows exactly how to get the work done. They know the steps to follow and they know how to complete the steps from the walkthrough video. But here's the thing, just knowing how to do something isn't enough. They also need all the information they to complete the steps. So for example, if you're asking them to do something in QuickBooks, they need the login information for the QuickBooks or an app, another app for a client. They need that login information to get in and complete those steps in that app. Or if you're asking them to request something from the client, they need the client's contact info. Once they get the documents, where do they need to upload it? So, okay, do they have the link to upload it in that location? So you need all this other information added to the checklist so they can actually complete it without having to ask you or someone on your team for that information, or worse, just try to spend an hour trying to find it somewhere in the office or in their documents.
Right.
So adding that information is a critical part so they know how to do the work and they have everything they need to do the work. So, and we recommend thinking about this after you make the video. So after you do the video, you've walked through the process, quickly write down everything you needed because it's fresh on your mind.
Okay.
So then you take the video, you take that information and you add it to each and every step. And I'll show you what that would look like, right? So quickly. So we talked about, right? This was like the checklist you had.
Mm-hmm. We
Want
can
it to
see it.
look
Yep.
like this after. So you're taking that and it's something like this. So I took that checklist and I added all the information, the walkthrough video. This is requesting information, right? So the client's contact information, the email template. Maybe you have a template you like to use, to standardize the communication with the client. And I like to do this. I think like highlighting the process from a high level. So like first you request via email, follow up every 3 days. And maybe after 2 weeks you call them, and that might be in the video, but it's like a quick synopsis, right? And you
Okay.
want to do it for each and every step. And so this is something that's in the description that you can download. This is just an example that you can take home with you. And this
Okay.
is another
Perfect. That's the one that's called the um,
optimized.
optimized checklist example, y'all.
Mhm. And then the worksheet is this. So in creating like your simple checklist, you'll have this as well, and it just gives you some tips to go through and also some
Okay.
optimization.
All right.
So let's get back to the presentation. So you basically have everything you need now to create your checklist, and then
Woohoo!
optimize the step. So to recap that, right? We recommend you first keep it simple. Lay that initial foundation. Don't overthink it. In an hour, you can lay that foundation and create all your checklists. Then once you've created your checklist, then you can focus on optimizing them by creating the walkthrough video for each step and adding in the additional information needed. If you do this, it's going to allow you to better delegate work to your team effectively so they can complete the work without ever involving you in the process. And that's critical. But still will allow you to ensure that they're doing the work right to your firm standards every time as if you were doing it yourself, while giving you the flexibility you need to focus on your business and take a vacation while working a
Mm.
reasonable amount of hours a week. Giving you the foundation, these things together will allow you to double, triple, quadruple your firm without really hitting those growing pains or stagnating growth. So that's we talked about how to create your checklist and we showed you how to do that in Excel, but that isn't enough sometimes, right? Because as you grow in scale, you're going to outgrow the way you're doing things. You need a really good system at scale that will allow you to manage your checklist, delegate them, and track the status of client work. A lot of firms are on spreadsheets, and that's okay in the beginning, right? When it's just you, you're doing everything yourself. You can kind of keep track of everything in the spreadsheets. You can put it on sticky notes. That works. But as you grow and you bring in more people, you start to outgrow spreadsheets and sticky notes because they don't give you real-time visibility, right? When you're not doing the work yourself, it's hard to know what's the status of work, right? Did they get it done? Did we hit our deadline? Did we get it completed in time on spreadsheets? There isn't a lot of collaboration built in as well, right? So it's harder to share information like documents, ask questions. You end up doing it in other places,
Yep.
and that causes everything to become disorganized, right? So when completing the work, your team needs context. They need documents. They need emails related to the work that has client information. They need important notes. That ends up being locked away in an inbox somewhere, or a sticky note on someone's desk, or a file that no one can find in the office because it's buried somewhere. All this disorganization slows down your team. They're wasting time. It decreases productivity. So as you grow, you need a better system to help manage all that, to give you the visibility, the collaboration, to keep everything organized. And that's why we built Financial Sense. So this was Financial Sense is specifically designed for accounting firms, and it helps them track the status of client work, manage their workflows, and really just get work done. It gives you that visibility to know where everything stands. Your team can easily collaborate, ask questions, communicate on the work itself, and it keeps everything organized, right? Because in Financial Sense, everything happens on the work. All your documents, your client emails, your client notes and contact information. All that information is stored on the work and it's one click away. So while your team is working on it, they can access it in seconds. They know where everything is. It helps them be more productive, get work done faster, but also keeps your firm organized as you continue to grow and scale.
Okay, I got a question. So
Yeah.
one of this is going to sound silly, but sometimes I struggle to name things that I create for, like um a download from Stripe or something that I might need,
Yeah.
okay? Like, um, and I would be embarrassed for people to see my hard drive and the way I'm trying to save stuff in the same spots and stuff. So I've even in my mind, I was thinking, I wonder if does a checklist have how to name what we save? Um, but in
Yeah.
Financial Sense, that Stripe download, it doesn't matter if me or if I grow to have a team, if if someone's downloading something and then using it for the work and they kind of call it whatever they want, but then they attach it to the Stripe download step and then it kind of lives there. So it doesn't really matter what you call it. I don't know. So I guess my question is do we get as detailed as saying what to name things, but also does does attaching documents into little pesky documents into steps, does that what you mean by it lives in the work and everything is
Yeah.
there?
Definitely. So like the documents and everything, they would all live in the work. I mean, I think it's always great to still have naming conventions for things. just so
Okay.
it's cleaner. But if financial sense, it doesn't become as much as a problem because you're not having to try to search and find it by the name or what did I call that, right? Because it's all going to be on the work. And I can actually I kind of want to briefly show this, right? So the first thing I want to talk about is this view right here, right? This is your workflow view in financial sense. This is the first thing you see. This is how you get that visibility that we were talking about. So you know who's working on what the status of work is, and when it's due. So nothing slips through the cracks. So you can see as an owner, everything everyone across your team is working on. What's the status of it, progress to being completed, when it's due, and who's responsible, and what client it's for. As a staff member, your team will be in here, but they will just see an actionable to-do list like this, but just their work that they need to do this week, next week, and in the future. So it gives everyone on your team visibility. And then you can run those reports to get deeper visibility that you need, right? So maybe you don't want to see everything. Maybe you just want to see the monthly bookkeeping work, right? That is waiting on client information. You can run that report to see, okay, this is that work type of work I need to see to get that instant visibility. Or maybe you want to see all the tax work if you do tax work or payroll work. You know, you have all these options to really run custom reports. You can see, you can filter by team member. You can see everything. Maybe Blake is working on right now this week, and the status of his work. If a client calls, they want to know where their work stands. You can easily filter by a client's name to see all the work you're doing for that specific client. So you have all this reporting to not only get high level visibility, very deep granular visibility, so you know where everything stands and you can track the stuff that matters to you. Um, so let's talk back to the last thing you mentioned, Kate. So about the organization. So inside financial sense, from this view, you'll see all your work. We call those projects. So like our monthly bookkeeping for this client, Adeline Collins. If you click into the work, this is where you see all that information, right? This is where everything is organized. So it's not in some email somewhere. It's not in some folder somewhere. It's not on a sticky note. It's all right here, right? Anyone on your team can access the information they need in seconds to get their work done. And the first thing they see is the checklist, right? The most important thing, how to do the work. They'll see all the steps from your checklist. They'll be able to click into each step to see the details. So the optimization, right? So the walkthrough videos, the email templates, the processes. They can add subtasks. You can add documents. Everything they need is right here, one click away. Now, just outside from that, there's also other things, right? The collaboration. Your team can communicate on the work here. You can tag people in comments, ask questions, have discussions. You can store files on a higher level of the project. And this is really cool. You can tag emails. So client sends you an email that's related to your work. You can tag it to the work. So as your team is working, they can see those emails from the client, access the information in them to get their work done. So everything they need is right here. And even on a client level, right? So this is just like your high level work information, the files related to the work, the emails, the communication. But you can also access the client's profile by clicking their name, which is like a Rolodex of all your client info. So here you can see everything related to the client. You can see notes from past meetings. You can see their contact information if they have to request anything. You can see entity type info, sensitive information. You can even see access all the passwords and usernames and security questions to their apps. So again, they have everything they need to get their work done, and it's one click away. I get that contact information I need, I get back to the work. I forgot something, I go back, grab the entity type, get back to the work. So everything is one click away. And this not only keeps you organized, but if you have to step out of the office or you're sick, someone can easily pick up where you left off. They know where you were in the process, and they have all the communication for context. They have all client emails. They have all the files. They have all the client information. Everything they need is right here, so your firm doesn't skip a beat. And that empowers you really to delegate that work. That empowers you to increase productivity and to get more work done.
I want to jump in with a little thing that this is making me think of about if it, whether you're using the Google Sheets or Financial Sense about how to make sure a checklist is good, which is why I
Mhm.
know all my checklists are bad. At the BKX bookkeeping conference, I heard one of the speakers. He has a mom who has an accounting background. I mean, he's a grown man, but has a mom. I don't know, 60, 70 years old. Um,
Yeah.
and he employs her like once a quarter and has what's called the mom test. Um, and she goes in and does like a random sampling of people's work and does the work for his employees, based on them making their own checklists, kind of. So I don't know if you have a team, if they're empowered to kind of create and add and massage checklists for clients in Financial Sense. But I thought that was a pretty cool thing. And if you don't have a mom, you could buddy up with someone and you could have them do your friend test and then you do their friend test, for sanity's sake. Like, I understand this, but does anyone else, like, if I drop dead and I get hit by a bus, can someone else do this? So it was kind of cool, a cool way to test your checklists and keep improving them by how well they pass the mom test.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's something like, because the goal here, right, is to be able to give it to someone and they could do it. Like if you got hit by a bus, nothing, nothing would change. The firm would still run smoothly. It's
Right,
kind of
right.
the dark way to look at it. Um, but if you do it right, you can do that. And that's the thing in Financial Sense too. Like you have all your templates and checklists stored here and you can optimize them over time, make improvements to them. And then your team can too. It's a very collaborative workspace. Um, and there's some other great things too. Like we do a lot of things like time tracking, but like we also, like, one big problem we see that a lot of accounting firms have is chasing down their clients for information every week and every month. So let's say like Adeline Collins, your client, you do monthly bookkeeping for her, but you have to chase her down every single month for certain information like bank statements or credit card statements. You can create a request list for your client that will automatically be sent to them every single month. And then they'll be able to upload these documents here. So they get automated reminders. So you save time because you never have to chase your client down and nag them for information. But also when they upload it into the system securely, it's right here. Again, keeping all now those client documents that they sent you organized on the work. So it's not again in an email somewhere or a folder somewhere where your team's like, where is this information? I need it to get the work done. So it helps you get it faster. It
Yeah.
helps your team find it faster. Um, and this is a new thing we just released too, Inbox. So a lot of accounting firms, they struggle with managing their emails. It's email overload. You get so many emails a day, and so we release this so you can integrate with Gmail and Outlook and have your inbox inside Financial Sense. And what we do is first we hyper focus it on just client emails. So this client email inbox, it just shows emails from your clients. So it filters out all that clutter so you can stay focused.
Mm.
And then you can read the emails, you can respond to your clients. What's really cool is you can, like we talked about, you can pin it to a project. So if Brennan sent me this email and it's related to some work, I can pin it to that work so my team can view it. And then if it's an ad hoc request, I can also create it into a project. So for example, like this is something my client's asking me to do. It adds a subject line. You can change that. You can give it a start date, a due date. You can delegate it to someone on your team to do the work the client requested and then create it. And then that will then show up here
Uh-huh.
on your to-do list.
Yeah.
So you can track it and the email will be here and you can add extra steps. But what that does is that essentially lets you to manage those ad hoc email requests on your to-do list instead of in your cluttered inbox where it might, get buried and forgotten.
Can
Um,
can I ask a question about emails? Because this has kind of come up in my mind, uh, as I've gotten to the point where I've needed a little bit of help on stuff. Do Is it best practice to have an email that's not my like Kate email? So normally when I'm communicating with clients, well, now I only have one email.
yeah.
But I'm thinking, like, for something like Financial Sense to work right, do you actually need a help at business bookkeepingbusiness.com email address, so it kind of can be shared. And you have to like,
Yeah.
I would have to retrain all my clients to like, hey, don't email me at Kate at Heritage Business Services. Email me at clients at Heritage Business. I don't know what I would call it, but I'm I don't know if I'm making this up or if I heard it as an idea somewhere. But I feel like I'm in a sticky spot because two people who are helping me, I'm like a roadblock. My email is getting stuff that they need. Does that make sense?
So that's a really good question, right? And this is the thing that's a lot of people do that. They create like one shared email for the client to send
Okay.
all the information so their team can access it. But that's hard. That like you're experiencing that hurdle to where like now you have to retrain all your clients to send stuff there, and if they don't, your team can't access it. So with this inbox integration, you don't need to do that anymore. You can keep your email because if you get an email, you can easily send it to a team member and assign it to them, or you can tag it to the work that it's related to. Now, you have to do that manually, but also what we do is if your client's working, let's say on this work for Adeline Collins, and they need an email and they don't know where it is, then it's in your inbox. If you give them access, they can go to the client's profile, click this email tab, and see all the emails that the client has sent you. So that you and the client have sent. So if you give them access, they'll be able to view those emails on the client's profile and open it, download the document they need or that information. So they'll have full visibility. So you don't have to
Okay.
worry about, that information silo with your email, and you don't have to have that shared inbox anymore.
Okay. What about when we request that clients give us read-only access to banks to get reports? That's like a normal thing. So we can get the statements to reconcile. I always say I
Mhm.
only want read-only access. Is a best work, and I've always given my business email. But that's becoming a roadblock too. So in that instance, I'm not getting an email, but I'm using my email to go fetch something. Do you have any advice on how I could handle that to where I'm not the one having to go like log on to something with my email? Is that a better instance for a company wide generic
So
email?
yeah, I think you'd have like, I don't know, you call it like apps at, companyname.com. And
Okay.
then you sign up for all your clients' apps through that. I see that a lot of firms do that. And so it's like one shared login. That's not your personal email that all your team members can use.
Right. I'm curious what those of you listening, and if you're listening after the fact, how do y'all handle that? I think we could get some good discussion and comments from the folks who've tried different ways, tried both, or if you're experiencing the same pain. How do you handle the email URL that you use for different ways of interfacing with clients? So,
It's a really good question. It's a really good question. So I just wanted to kind of talk about, so that's how we built Financial Sense to really help your team collaborate and get more work done and overcome that challenge of really having a system that can scale with your practice as you grow. If you guys are interested, you can start a free 14-day trial by going to our website, www.financial-sense.com. Actually, if you click the description below, you'll
yep.
also see it there, so you don't have to type it all out. But it's free 14 days. You can use all the features, test it out, no credit card required. But also, one other thing in the description we've included is a workflow starter pack. So we talked about it's not that hard, right? You can quickly create some workflow checklists, but it can still be difficult sometimes. So we actually have a workflow starter pack of 10 common bookkeeping and accounting processes. You can see them all listed here: business tax returns, individual tax returns, monthly bookkeeping, quarterly reviews, payroll, client onboarding, so forth. These are simple checklists that we've created that you can use. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can customize them to fit your process. I will say if you do start a free trial in Financial Sense, we have these all already built in. So you can just quickly
Move
use them to
quick. Yeah.
customize them if you prefer. But there's also in the link below a link to that where you can download them in Excel and use them with your own process if you prefer.
Thanks so much for
So
that. That's great.
yeah, great resource. A lot of people love these, and then you can go in and optimize them later with our frameworks.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's everything, right? So those are the steps. That's the process we follow and we teach firms to follow to really create optimized scale checklists to scale their firm. So we can open it up to any questions.
All right, I'm gonna take the screen off here, and yeah. Does anyone else have any questions other than Beth Sullivan said that she'd have to teach her mom how to turn on a computer. So I don't know if that's a question or if you can help her with that. Beth, I think you need a buddy. Like if you found the idea of a mom test compelling, there's going to be someone else whose mom doesn't know accounting basics and who needs a partner. So oh, we got a question here. Yeah. Does Financial Sense link to QuickBooks Online?
It does. Yeah. So we have a seamless two-way sync with QBO. So what that will do is that will import all your clients from QBO and all their information. So you don't have to recreate it all in FC. And it'll also, if you do track time in our system, it'll sync with QBO. So when you track time in our system, you can invoice out of QBO with it.
Okay. And it tracks the whole firm time.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have different employees working on different things at like different rates, it's gonna track that. Okay.
It's really robust. You can run multiple timers. You can set billing rates. So your team, and you can get pretty detailed. You can add notes. You can tag it to tasks, to projects. So you can have a detailed for your clients.
For those of you who have listened this far, I need to go back and I'll edit the description and put this idea of time tracking. Shahram did a great lesson on about time tracking, and not trying to say we need to bill by time tracking, but just how important it is to know where your efficiencies are, what your effective hourly rate is, because no matter how we price, we all have an effective hourly rate. Like how much did you work? By how much you made, and there was it's on the YouTube channel, but I'll try to pop that in the description here as well for anyone who is listening, and it'll be another replay that's general, but then you can use Financial Sense as a tool to do that if you find the argument compelling, but it's a powerful tool, this time tracking feature with specific projects.
Yeah, it's always great to track time, especially if you're on a fixed fee, because it'll let you know if you price services right. You never know
Exactly.
until you check.
All right. Okay. Any other questions? Joanna's saying that the downloads are great, so she's already popped those downloaded. Beth is cheering you for the time tracking concept for your own data, because it could let you know when you're most productive. So like hours of the day, Beth, is that what you're meaning? Like I do this work best in the morning, but whenever I try to do this work in the afternoon, I'm a disaster. That's good data. That's important because we can always shuffle our calendar around, right? If you need some low brain work at a certain time, put the low brain work there, and then the high brain work at other times. So that's really meaningful. All right. Well, let's wrap up so people won't be scared about the length of this when they watch the replay. Guys, we will be back on August 18th. The topic is going to be automating your accounting firm. And we are so grateful for your teaching. I learned a lot today, and I'm thankful for those of you who watched live. And I know most of you are going to watch after the fact, but be sure to tag Shahram in the Facebook group if you're there, or just reach out to him at financial-sense.com. Will be a great way. He's super responsive and has been a big support to our community already. So we have permission to ask him questions and pick our brain, and he's seen a lot. He's seen under the hood of a lot of firms. So I promise you're not the worst he's seen. I would imagine. I bet you've seen some messy firms.
I'm happy to answer any questions. Just tag me in the group or wherever. Reach out to me personally through our website. So you guys have anything, I'm here as a resource for you guys.
All right, we'll sign off for now. Y'all have a happy Thursday. Bye, everyone.